And we're here at Sports Spectrum. Kevin Warren is joining us, President and CEO of the Chicago Bears. Hi, Kevin.
Yeah, good to see you. It's a pleasure to be here. Another beautiful day.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you. And, of course, Coach Dungy, the Hall of Famer. Hi, Coach.
Hey, great to be with you, Jason. Seems like we kind of hang out at Super Bowls and events like this.
I like this, yeah. And we get to talk about Jesus and we
Amen.
get to talk about sports, so there's nothing wrong with that. Kevin, I want to start with you. We were at a dinner last night with Coach Dungy, and he and you spoke and you shared a little bit about your story. We are limited with our time, or else we could go 45 minutes to an hour, I'm sure, on your story because it's a powerful one. But I want to start with something that you mentioned during your chat with Coach Dungy last night, and it was simply the number 1440. Can you just share with our audience what 1440 is and why it's important in your journey with Jesus and certainly in the work that you do?
Yeah, 1440 has been the theme and the essence, really, that I've tried to live by in my life. It's the number of minutes in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, and 24 hours in a day is 1,440 minutes. And it's a reminder to me that life goes fast, life is fragile, life is uncertain, and we need to make sure that we take advantage of every single one of those minutes and the importance of 1440.
That's amazing. Coach, when you first heard about the 1440 concept, like what stands out to you?
It really does remind you that life does move fast and we don't have a long time. 31 years ago, I came to the Minnesota Vikings, and it just seems like yesterday. And 15 years ago, I retired from the Colts, and
Wow.
It's hard to believe, but
Yeah.
that's the facts. And so how are you going to use that time that God has given you?
Last night, Kevin, when you were with Coach, you were sharing a little bit about your story, and I know when I ask you about your testimony and faith in Christ, which is the question we like to always ask on Sports Spectrum, it stems back to when you were a kid, really.
Yep.
Can you share the story and just how Christ kind of became Lord of your life?
Yeah, 11 and a half years old. It was a normal June summer day in Arizona. Both of my parents worked, and we had a list of chores and responsibility. We got up, we made our bed, we said our prayers, we took a shower, we took care of the dog, did our chores, and I was going up to a local high school where I ended up going to high school to play with some friends, play some basketball and football, and ended up hearing a loud screech. A woman had lost control of her car in our neighborhood, jumped the curve, going almost 40 miles an hour, and ran over me, and sent me flying almost 40 feet in the air. And I had some massive injuries. Broke my femur. It's the largest bone in your body. If you haven't done it, trust me, you don't want to do it. So I had a compound fracture of my femur, wrist, a lot of internal injuries, head injuries, and should have died that day. And by the grace of God, landed on a small patch of grass and ended up spending the better part, almost a year, in traction. And I keep a picture on my desk, literally on my desk at home, in my home office, and at work, of me in the hospital bed. And then I thought it was over, and then the doctor informed me that they needed to put me in a full body cast. And so I spent months in there and just battled with, trying to stay strong mentally. And that's when I recognized that truly what God had meant. I had heard of God. We went to church, and I said childlike prayers, but that's really when I grew in the Lord, and I recognized that there was a special purpose in my life.
As you started to get older and have these opportunities come your way for some pretty high-level positions with some very influential teams and even the conference with the Big Ten, how have you seen your faith kind of guide you and lead you in the way that you lead others? I
mean, it's everything, and I recognize that, as a child, as you grow, I think the human nature is the fact to kind of run away from pain and run away from challenges. And I've recognized that when I'm one with Christ is when I have no alternative. And I know even when we postponed the season a couple years ago during COVID in the Big Ten, and I had death threats and couldn't drive and had to have security, I remember vividly one morning just going into the shower and letting the water run on me and praying to God to say, Lord, there is no one that I can call to solve this issue. And what he was able to do and decided to do to turn that season and the conference and lift me up and around that and keep me strong. And so I just recognize each and every day that it's really about truly trusting in the Lord and his plan, in his time, in his accord, and not necessarily what we think is best for us, because we have no idea.
We're here on Sports Spectrum with Kevin Warren, the Chicago Bears team president and CEO, and of course the Hall of Famer Tony Dungy. Coach, last night we were at a dinner and you have the Uncommon Award that you give out each year, part of this event that we have going on here in Minneapolis that we're here talking to this morning. And you named Kevin, that's why you're up here in this conversation with us, as your Uncommon Award winner. Why was it so important for you to recognize Kevin and to name him your winner this year?
Yeah, we select the award based on excellence. And yes, a lot of that excellence is on the field or on the court in the arena, and we want to recognize that. But we select it more for other activities and how you represent yourself and how you bring the Lord into things. So that is really the reason that we selected Kevin this year. And I can tell you from experience, Jason, I've talked to him over the last 20 years, and it doesn't matter what the project he's on. Hey, he's with the St. Louis Rams, and we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm with the Minnesota Vikings, and we're trying to get a new stadium. I'm with the Big Ten, and we're considering maybe adding a couple of teams from the West Coast. Anytime he'll call me with these issues, his question is always, what does the Lord want me to do in this situation? And I just love that, and that's why he's special, and that's why he's uncommon.
Well, certainly a worthy recipient of this award. Kevin, you mentioned last night when we were at dinner together at the award ceremony that you intentionally started your press conference this year with your new job with the Bears to give God the glory. Talk through that and why that's something intentional that you want to lead in this new role with the Bears the same way you've always led, with the Lord first.
And so much, I have so much respect and admiration and love for Coach Dungy because he always used the platform to talk about Jesus, and that's what we're here for. And so I even when the McCaskies called me, George McCaskey called and said, we'd like for you to become the new president and CEO of the Chicago Bears. When I got home, I told my wife, I said, I think the way that I can thank God is to start off the press conference, to God be the glory. And I made sure to do it because I mean that. And so I'm just so grateful. I just have a heart of gratitude. And, Chicago is an absolutely incredible city, iconic franchise, phenomenal head coach. All of the elements are in place. And so so many times people look at challenges, I look at really an opportunity for Christ to shine. And so I know with Coach Eberflus and prayers, warriors like Coach Dungy and our GM and Ryan Poles and the McCaskey family. I mean, one thing that really moved my spirit when I went there was the fact that we have a chapel in our practice facility. And I know there are so many other organizations, they don't even want you to talk about Christ. And to have a chapel there, it just was affirmation to me that this is the right place to be, and that we can really put the Lord first and lead in that manner.
Coach, when you hear him talk about that, that's gotta make you smile like you are doing right now, just knowing, because you were one of the first people, I think, when we think about giants in the game and people who are champions for Christ, and you win that Super Bowl and you're on that stage with 120 million, I think we talked about last night, and you're making sure that you point people to Christ even in that moment, winning the Super Bowl. And when you hear Kevin say that, that's got to be just awesome.
It really is to me, because I think we need that. We need it as a country. We need it in the NFL. We need it as men. I was blessed to have some of those type of role models when I got into coaching. There was Coach Joe Gibbs and Tom Landry, and guys standing up and saying, and proving to everyone that you could do it that way. You could honor the Lord and still be excellent. I wanted to carry on that tradition, and it's heartwarming to me to see guys like Kevin continue to carry it on.
As we wind down, Kevin, I just want to ask you, kind of in your season of life that you're in, we like to ask this question to a lot of our guests. What do you feel like the Lord is showing and teaching you right now as you get ready to step into this role? In the 2023 season will be here before we know it. It's really already here in many ways for your job. It's not when games start to play because there's so much to do. But what do you think God's been showing you and teaching you in your life right now?
I mean, as I look back over my life, is just to be, prepared. And I think what the Lord is teaching and showing me is that it's clear now. And my mom would always say to me, every day I spoke with her, she would say, keep your hand in God's hand. And I think what the Lord is saying to me is, keep your hand in my hand. Yeah. And if you do that, sometimes things won't make sense. And I can say my entire life, there are things that I prayed on, the answer came to me, And I just said, this doesn't really make sense. And now I recognize the more that you're closer with Christ, and when you hear that voice, even when it doesn't make sense, that's when you're in the right spot. And so I think this season of life is that we're going to do things with the Chicago Bears that may not make sense to people, but that when we turn around and take a moment to look back over our journey together with Coach Matt and Ryan and the McCaskies, all of our organization, our fans around the world, they're going to say, now we understand, what had happened. But we're going to do it with God. And every day that I walk in, and I've done it, just did it last week, and I look at that a statue of George Halas, and I always ask myself, one, that I'm so grateful for the opportunity, but I want all of our fans, I want our players to be proud, with their kids and with their family, that they're a member of our franchise and that we're doing it the right way. And I promise the Lord that we win our first Super Bowl, that I'm going to start off on the stage and say, to God be the glory.
Yes.
And I just pray that opportunity, I know it's going to come.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to that day. He is Coach Tony Dungy and Kevin Warren. Guys, thank you. Thank you for the conversation, and congratulations, Kevin, on this amazing Uncommon Award. We really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Jason.